I'm 17 years old. I organized this walkout that happened last Friday after the shooting in Uvalde, because gun violence has always been something that's really struck out to me as something that it seems like it's such an easy problem to solve, and people are just not. I guess a lot of people disagree with that. But after the shooting in Uvalde, I really just hit home for me. So it's also a big thing about social media. People post a lot about shootings and gun violence on social media, and they get mad when other people don't do it. But I think there's a big difference in posting on social media a picture that says we're so sorry, and there's a big difference between that and going out and doing something. And I was sick of sitting and scrolling through Instagram and seeing people saying that they're so sorry, and I wanted to do something that would maybe physically make a difference.
I'm Eben Harrison, and I go to Cape Elizabeth High School. I think that, it's always been kind of an issue. Gun control has always kind of been an issue, and it's always been something I've thought about, but I definitely think that with light of recent events, with Uvalde shooting and multiple shootings that have happened since then, it's kind of been a trigger to myself, kind of just that I need to make change. And especially with Stella starting to organize the walkout and the rally, it was something I knew that I needed to be a part of.
Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm a rising junior majoring in elementary education, and I just want to say it is amazing to see everyone out here today. It just warms my heart that much. I am a teacher in training. I am a junior majoring in elementary education, and I have thought extensively about what I would do if it were me in that situation. Every time I enter any room, but especially a classroom, I check where the exits are. I check how high up the windows are. I don't like sitting with my back to the door. I always look up or around when I hear a door open to make sure that no one is coming with an intent to harm myself or those around me. And I have had the internal debate over who I would save if I were to be one of those teachers whose classroom was under attack. And every time the answer is my students. I will do everything in my power to keep my students safe, even if that meant throwing myself in front of or on top of them. But the truth is, I should not have to think about these things. I should not have a plan for when this happens. And you'll notice that I said when and not if. At the rate that the U.S. is moving, with the number of mass shootings rising every year, it is almost a certainty in my mind that this will happen to me by the end of my career. And the only thing that should be of concern to myself and my class is the learning. And we should be able to do that learning in a safe place, not constantly looking over our shoulders to see who is coming through the door, not too on edge to focus on a math game we're playing. Nothing of the sort. I am terrified to continue working towards my career path because I think about situations like these all the time. But I will keep moving forward because I believe that every child should have a safe learning environment where they can grow and change and just be kids. And I believe that the difference between that happening and it not is me. And I will not let those kids down.
My name is Sydney Wolf. My pronouns are she, her. I am a recent graduate of UNE's social work program, and I will be obtaining my master's in social work from them come the fall. And along with two other social workers, Kendra Murray and Amy Simpson, I have organized this March for Our Lives rally in Portland, Maine. And we're really here just to demand action. We need to see something from our politicians. The lives of kids and people are so much more important than people's access to guns.
How can people get involved? How can people help?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you log on to marchforourlives.org, there's all kinds of information and petitions to be signed. You can call your local congressman, your local senator, your local legislators, and demand action in our state and across the country.
Why are you here?
You know, I don't think that kids should be in classrooms in fear. I am a social worker, and I do not want to have to come up with a plan of how I'm going to keep my preschoolers safe. My 3 and 4-year-old kids do not need to worry about whether they are going, you know, the reality is when they're going to be shot in school. And I do not want to have to think about how I'm going to barricade my classroom doors when I should be reading books to them and teaching them their colors and their numbers and their letters and their shapes. It is more important that they get their education and that they feel safe than people's access to their guns.
My name's Brian Leonard. Just by chance, this is not why I'm here today, but a long time ago I graduated from Oxford High School in Michigan, which just had a shooting this winter.
God. Yeah.
And I mean, that's what it is like, because it can be anywhere. When I woke up to that, I thought this has to be a bad dream.
I am a native Buffalonian. I grew up in Buffalo, New York, and the day that I woke up living here in Maine and saw that a mass shooting had happened in my hometown, I was heartbroken. And it's not when, or it's not if, it's when. And I don't think that anyone needs to live in fear, and I think there is so much more that can be done by our politicians and our legislators to protect us.
Do we need to vote them out?
Absolutely, vote them out.
How are your classmates doing along with anxiety around these types of things? Do you feel like it's an inevitable situation, like when, or please go ahead.
I think anxiety and depression have skyrocketed through our generations, not only because of quarantine, but also just because that's how we've grown up. And it's also because people, I think this is like a cause of anxiety. It's like this isn't like just happening because people are anxious. This is creating more anxiety for people, fear, like nervousness. I don't know.
Yeah, it is definitely kind of a generational thing. I think that with quarantine, like there was an obvious spike in mental health, but I think that recent school shootings, especially with like the spike in recent school shootings, there's always like an underlying anxiety that it is possible. And a lot of people can say like, you know, it's not as likely to happen in Maine or your town or something specific to that, but that's really not the problem. I mean, we're not just solving it for our specific school, we're solving it for all schools. We're trying to solve it for the United States. Yeah.
Why do you think this happens here in the United States more than anywhere else in the world? Do you have theories or, you know, working theories?
I think gun control is a big problem here. I haven't looked into a lot of other countries other than like the mental health aspect,
Right.
but we don't have much control of it here, and I think people will use that.
Well, would you think that it's a mixture of access and mental health?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think that anybody that wasn't suffering from a mental health issue would shoot up a school. You know, so I think that any type of mass shooting, any type of shooting kind of can relate to mental illness in a way. I definitely think that because of America's poor gun control laws, especially when it comes to semi-automatic assault weapons, that kind of can play into the stats of how we're higher in mass shootings than other places. Yeah, I mean, as kind of Stella said, it shouldn't be an issue that kids have to be worried about that in school. Kids should be worried about grades, what they want to do after school, something like that. But I mean,
It's also background checks.
yeah, background checks,
Red
red
flag
flag
laws.
laws, all that. I mean, it's not enough, because if people are getting through to the point where they can commit a mass shooting, then obviously it's not enough. And obviously that our laws and our background checks and stuff like that, when it comes to purchasing a gun, any gun, especially a semi-automatic assault weapon, it doesn't work for us.
They also exist in other countries more. Like we haven't, like our background checks, you can buy a gun in like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you can do that in many other countries, which I think is the problem.
Comparing like renting a car, you can rent a car at 26, but you can buy an assault weapon at 18. You have to wait a huge, extended long period of time to get your license, going through many courses, training courses, written tests, driving with an instructor, but you can walk into a gun shop and buy a semi-automatic assault weapon in hours.
Right.
That makes zero sense to me whatsoever. Drinking at 21. I mean, all of those things are such minor compared to owning such a deadly weapon.
It's also the magazines that you can walk in, buy a gun of that caliber, buy a magazine with 100 rounds at 18 with bad mental health. And you can do it 2 days. The Uvalde shooter bought a semi-automatic assault weapon 2 days after his 18th birthday, clearly not fit to own a weapon of that caliber, and that's what happened with it.
Right.
So.
Hello everybody, my name is Elaine Seamus, and while we're talking about voting, what about Jared Golden? Right? Only one of 2 Democrats to vote no on the gun laws proposed by the Congress. And why? Why was that? What's he afraid of? Not pleasing his gun constituents? Really? Because the majority of the people in this country, including gun owners, are for sane gun laws. Let me say that again. The majority of the people in the United States, including gun owners, are for sane gun laws. So anyways, I'm a public health professional. This is a fucking epidemic. But I'm also here as a grandmother. I know I look too young. So my grandson is 9 years old. And if you don't think I haven't had nightmares about trying to identify an unidentifiable, shot up child, that's all I can think about. And I'm furious. And I'm heartbroken. And when he came to me and he said, Yaya, that's a Greek word for grandmother, how do I spread the blood of my schoolmate on my body and play dead? I don't think I can stay still long enough.
Let's back up a little bit. You both were a part of organizing the March on Collins office. And was that the same as the walkout?
Yes.
Okay.
It was part of the walkout.
We walked out of school and then we marched to Collins' office. It was all...
Walked out to school, got to Portland, and then marched from the Cross Shirts Arena to her office.
And then we rallied there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me ask you this. Did you feel like you were heard or listened to?
No.
Why is that?
Not as much as we wanted to be, at least. I definitely think that what we did got out much more than
publicized.
Yeah, I mean, it got out
Which was
much
amazing.
more than
was expected. I thought maybe I heard about one news channel had reached out to me and asked, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. And we got there, and there was like 4 or 5 cameras on us all the entire time. It got way more press than I'd ever hoped, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I was so grateful
So
for that.
I think in that aspect, we definitely got listened to because the message was reached. I mean, multiple people from different states heard about what we did. So I think that was definitely good, kind of as spreading a message. But when it comes to being listened to, as in Senator Collins, no.
Enough is enough! Enough is enough! Enough is enough! Enough is enough!
Last week, I organized a walk out of school, trying to get to the point across that student safety is critical. We do not want to be here, but we will be, fighting for our safety and the safety of future generations. We will be here every day until things change. The deadly rampage at Robb Elementary marked the 30th school shooting in a K through 12th grade school in the first 5 months of this year. And it was the deadliest school shooting since the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre. On May 24th, 9-year-old Daniel had his normal day of school on Tuesday morning at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. By 12 p.m., 19 of his classmates and 2 of his teachers had been killed, one of which was Daniel's cousin, Ellie Garcia. Daniel talks about his experience in the shooting and says that he wouldn't have survived if he hadn't been hiding under a table next to a wall. He could see the gunman's face. He could see him staring at the classmates in front of him. Daniel's 9 years old. The Uvalde shooter waited until it was legal, or his 18th birthday, to buy an AR-15 style rifle, while clearly not being fit to own a weapon of this caliber. Mass shootings have tripled since 2004 when the federal assault weapons ban expired. This was a law that existed, and this was a law that can exist again. This was a law that kept us safe. We are not asking for a total gun reform, but we're demanding a ban of assault weapons. Because in the last 5 months, we have had to hear about 30 school shootings nationally. Because we should be worried about our grades and our social lives, not an exit strategy in case of an active shooter. Because our First Amendment right to life should be more important than the Second Amendment right to own an assault weapon. Because the adults in our lives have failed us, and now we need to fight for our own safety. Because mental health is an issue all over the world, but children in any other country in the world don't have to worry about dying by bullets in schools like we do. Because your red flag laws wouldn't have prevented the last 2 school shootings because the shooters hadn't been deemed mentally ill. Because our parents don't want to hear your thoughts and prayers when our lives are lost. I'm not speaking to you in admiration or asking for an autograph. I don't want to shake your hand and take a photo. I'm speaking to you as a 17-year-old student in your state, scared for her life every day, going to school and getting shot. I'm speaking to you and begging you, please grant me a slight peace of mind. My life is in your hands, Susan. Please keep me safe.
Be a little bit flexible because I was expecting, the goal of the whole march was to drop off a letter to Senator Collins, and I was expecting to walk up and hand it into like a box where it would never be seen again. And we did get to meet with one of her associates, which was amazing. I'm super grateful for that.
A representative,
It was honestly very frustrating. After walking out of the meeting, I was underwhelmed because it was a lot of, I understand that, like, I was super grateful for her being there, and I know we were probably not the easiest group of people to talk to. But she was very, I can't really help you that much, it's not my job, it's not my place, but I'll make sure to tell her that, and we have no idea if that's any of what we said it was going to be portrayed to her at all.
It was a lot of backboard, I think. It was, yeah, I understand that, I can relay that, or yeah, I understand that, but she did this, like, in 2013 and 2018, and it was just, it's upsetting because, I mean, I've said this in one of my other interviews, but like, that was, 9 years ago. Like, what difference does it make now? It could have been solved 9 years ago, but it wasn't. So it doesn't really matter what she was doing in the past, it matters what happened now.
That's right.
That the only reason why we were invited up to the office in the first place was because of the amount of press that we ended up getting.
A big thing is going on right now is the legislation is trying to be able to say that they're doing things to help, which is a big thing right now. When we were there, she was even like, well, she's working on it, she's working on something right now for you, like, blah, blah, blah. And we were just like, then where is it? Because they're passing these tiny minor laws that they can be like, we did something to help, we solved the problem, and it's not working. And I think that the reason, I don't think that if we had one camera there, we would have been invited in. Because I think that the way to make it look like she was solving the problem was to say, oh, come in up into my office and we'll talk. And we did that, and she's not gonna hear about it, who knows. But it's also like a super broad scope, like that is what people in Congress are doing right now. They're passing these tiny minor laws that don't change anything to just say that they helped.
What do you think about delays and?
Well, first, I don't think there should be delays. I mean, this isn't a topic that can relate to delays, because life is life or death. And when it comes to a gun, it's very quick to make that decision. And especially with the amount of years that have gone by where there hasn't been an issue solved when it comes to gun control is insane. I mean, the big yellow banner that we used at the front of our walkout was from 2018. It was a reused banner from 2018, which, I mean, just thinking about is crazy, because there hasn't been a problem that has been solved since then. In the past 4 years, we're still suffering with like the same issues and same lives lost with mass shootings.
How can adults help support your leadership and activism?
They were honestly amazing. For the past walkout, I was so grateful. Everybody was so great. We did a GoFundMe, and people were super supportive. It was, in the past was great, but...
How about your school? Was your school supportive on the walkout?
Oh, so Cape Elizabeth is a great school, but we have a new president.
Great academic system, that's for sure.
We have a new principal this year, and our vice principal, he's been there for years, he's amazing. Our new principal, I think he's just trying to get like into what's allowed and what he should be doing and whatnot. So I'm super grateful that he did not prevent me from doing it.
Was anyone penalized for doing it?
No, but it definitely wasn't easy.
It wasn't, there was just like, we don't need to get into that.
It's all right.
But it was kind of frustrating.
Teachers were great. Teachers were completely understanding when it came to students leaving class. Parents helped us out the entire time. I mean, Stella's mother was huge when it came to helping us out, and friends' parents, and parents giving, you know, a huge car of children rides to the walk. It all came together really nicely, I think.
Any message for other students on how to get involved, how to help? Go ahead.
Students Demand Action is a big company. Look it up. If you guys are trying to help, then do research, write your politicians, plan a walkout, just little things.
It's just something you have to do. You just have to do it.
I think that it's easy. Spreading awareness is super important, and I don't want to say anything negative on that, but don't keep posting on Instagram and send a 5-minute email to a politician.
Yeah.
And do it once a month.
Much as you are showing your extent of trying to help, but if you really want to help, you have to take action. And I mean, none of planning the walkout was easy. That's for sure. None of it was easy. We had like buses back out. We had so many issues come out, but
I did not sleep for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough on everybody.
It was so worth it.
It was worth it, exactly, because like we're here today, doing this, trying to make a difference. So if you can even make a small walkout when it goes to just the front of your school, something like that. It's incredibly important to get that out, to take action, to inspire people to take action as well.
What do you think the policies are most important to enact?
Banning semi-automatic assault weapons.
Yeah, there's no need for anybody, any normal American citizen, to own a semi-automatic assault weapon.
I think that there's also a big thing. Hunters in Maine, personally, there's so many associations that are all for the banning of semi-automatic assault weapons, because you don't use them. And veterans agree. There's so much research on that too. But it's banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines. That's number one. That should be done years ago. Background checks need to be rethought to a maximum.
Way more extensive.
Because the fact that somebody with horrible mental health can go into a gun shop at Cabela's and go buy a gun in 2 hours, and then have a weapon that can kill 20 people in a minute.
Yeah, they should not be doing more of a background check after the fact of the shooting.
And there's just also a bunch of tiny other points. Arming teachers should be completely not even a question, absolutely not. Because that's put more guns in the school, that's going to solve the problem? I don't think so. School police are great, but that's not going to do anything, that's not enough. Yellow flag laws is a big thing right now. Another thing that Congress can just be like, we did something to help you. Red flag laws was where they started, and they moved to yellow, so we're just making it less and less effective. And red flag laws aren't enough to begin with. So to say we're gonna just dull it down a little bit and then we'll hand it off to you guys it's just to make it seem like they're helping, and I don't think it's doing anything. So neither are working. Stronger laws need to be passed. And then just older age.
Yeah, older age, but I mean,
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, there's no need. I mean, there's no need for the weapon at all, but there's no need for it at a young age either.
Right.
And I mean, like I said, I think mental health checks are probably one of the biggest problems, because there's anybody who owns that weapon and decides to kill somebody with it obviously struggles from a mental illness. And if that's not figured out before buying the gun, I mean, obviously something is not right, because like I said, there should not be background checks, more extensive background checks being done after somebody's committed mass murder.
Right. So Stella and Eben, all the power to you both. Great work that you're doing. One of the questions was, do you think that this will be a problem when you both are in office later on in life, when you are in elected office?
I would hope not. And I know that the future, like our generation is watching all of this happen. And they're the politicians and the adults above us who have harshly said failed us in protection, in making us feel safe going to school. And we're the future voters. We're the future of the country, and we see it happening. So I would hope that would be the cause of every change that needs to happen.
We shouldn't be. I mean, as you've said, we shouldn't be desensitized to this type of stuff. This shouldn't be something that comes naturally. We shouldn't be expecting anything like this. So I think that the most important change is making us feel safe, because we shouldn't have to fight for our own safety. That should be given.
Right.
That should be given, especially to children in schools.
I'm Stella Crawford, and I'm 17 years old.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm Stella Crawford, I'm 17 years old, and I was a speaker at today's March for Our Lives. Today, I'm talking to Elaine Chambers.
Hi, I am a public health advocate and professional, but most importantly, I'm here as a mother and grandmother. And blah, blah, blah. I just choked.
Okay, keep going. Go ahead.
I'm Stella Crawford, I'm 17 years old. I was a speaker today at the
Start again and stay forward.
Stay forward. What is this? Is this a march or a protest?
Protest. Rally?
Protest.
Vigil? What are we doing today?
Well, it's called the March.
March of Our Lives.
March of Our Lives. It's all the same for us.
March for Our Lives. There you go.
I'm Stella Crawford, I'm 17 years old, and I was a speaker at today's March for Our Lives, and today I'm talking to Elaine Chambers.
Louder.
Louder?
Yep, do it one more time.
All right.
Louder. I'm Stella. Roy, go ahead.
Okay. I'm Stella Crawford, I'm 17 years old. I'll do it again.
I am Stella Crawford. I am 17 years old. Okay?
I'm still Stella Crawford.
Right.
I'm Stella Crawford, I'm 17 years old, and I was a speaker at today's March for Our Lives. Today I'm talking